it rarely makes the headlines. That assumption that the West is also generous with aid, do you really think that if their rewards were not ample, they would continue? Here is a true giving example. I work with women who've been accused of being witches, banished, isolated, and forced to seek refuge in a village called Gnani in Ghana in the northern region. They are under the protection of the earth priest, the Tindana. Now, I run a GoFundMe to help build a processing center, a space where these women can secure their financial future with dignity. The people who support this effort, ordinary individuals giving selflessly, they expect nothing in return but the well-being of these women. That's real aid. Meanwhile, what passes for aid from many Western governments and others is often transactional, tied aid to profit, politics, and influence. When these contracts bypass local actors, the opportunity for local businesses to grow, add value, and build long-term capacity is lost, along with the profits and life improvements these contracts could have brought. To be fair, there's nothing inherently wrong with exchanges that benefit both sides. The problem is that donors refuse to admit the game they are playing. Let's talk about 3 ways Western firms profit from aid and what that really means for African development. Contracts that boomerang, tied aid that is. This kind of aid comes with strings attached. It sounds generous, but a closer look reveals something troubling. The money often goes right back to the donor. Now here are a few illustrations. Take Sierra Leone. In the 2010s, the United Kingdom's Department for International Development, now FCDO, funded infrastructure like roads and water systems in Sierra Leone. But here's the catch. Many of the contracts went to British firms, consultants and engineers, not local or regional businesses. What does that mean? The aid funded British jobs and companies, not Sierra Leonean ones. Take France in West Africa. The French Development Agency, the AFD, routinely funds water and energy projects in countries like Senegal and Mali. But major contracts go to French firms like Suez and Veolia, with high-cost maintenance agreements built in. That means local businesses are sidelined, and countries stay reliant on foreign technology and services. And here's a familiar one, Kenya. In a number of road and energy projects, donor-funded contracts often go to Chinese, British, or EU firms. One highway project funded by China came with a requirement. Chinese firms must be used, even for basic tasks like signage. Come on, signage. Really? That leaves skilled Kenyan workers out of the loop, while the money and the control goes elsewhere. This is tied aid, help with a receipt. And while roads and railways get built, the deeper cost is independence, loss of independence. That means African governments often don't get the best price or the best value. Local firms get locked out. According to the OECD, more than 1 in 5 aid dollars are still tied, funneling public money right back into Western hands. Let's talk about another kind of aid that rarely touches local soil: technical assistance. Foreign consultants who design projects, write reports, monitor progress, and conduct training, often on short contracts with sky-high fees. It sounds helpful, but again, here's the catch. Technical assistance often swallows the massive share of aid budget. According to the OECD and UNDP, between a whopping 40 to 60% of some aid budgets are spent on consultants, travel, admin, and overhead, and often very luxurious travel. Aid rarely goes directly to infrastructure or service. And the cost, many international consultants charge $800 to $1,200 a day, a ton more than a local nurse or teacher ends in a month. These aren't always long-term experts embedded in the communities who are retained in some institutional memory. Many fly in, hold workshops, and then hop out. Locals call it parachute consulting. In on Monday, out by Friday, if even. And worse, sometimes the right policies that locals can't even implement because they weren't written with the context in mind. One Ugandan official put it bluntly: they come with answers, not questions. But of course, not all technical assistance is bad. But when foreign advice costs more than local solutions and displaces local expertise, we have to ask, who is this really helping? When advice costs more than action, aid becomes industry, not a solution. Now, let's talk about the business side of aid, where giving turns into lending and help becomes a source of profit. Much of what we call foreign aid isn't a gift, it's a loan, concessional loans, which come with lower interest rates than market loans, but they still must be repaid, and they often have strings attached. These repayments generate real income, not just for donor governments, but for export-import banks and private contractors that profit from the interest. Take Ghana. By 2022, it was spending over 40% of its national revenue servicing debt, much of it concessional. Ethiopia, too, has borrowed heavily to finance infrastructure, with billions owed to lenders from China, the World Bank, and others. When countries can't keep up with payments, they don't get relief. They're pushed back into the arms of donor-controlled lenders under new conditions, austerity, cutbacks, and control. Sometimes what looks like help comes with a bill. Next time you hear about $1 billion aid package, ask, who's really getting paid? Because while Africa receives aid, the West reaps the profits. Tell me, what do you think? Comment below. Subscribe for stories of how development really works or should work. I run a GoFundMe to help build a Shape Out Processing Center, a space where these women can secure their financial future with dignity. Now, as you heard, if you'd like to help, visit our GoFundMe. Just click on the link or search Help Restore My Dignity, I Am Not a Witch. Help Restore My Dignity, I Am Not a Witch. Till the next time.